Swadikhan, thank you for joining us on Newsline. We are broadcasting live on NBT, Radio Thailand FM 88, and on NBT World. It's Friday, November the 28th, and you're with me, Tra Tirakasan. Her Royal Highness Princess Maha Chakri Sirinthorn yesterday went to Nakhon Nayok province to harvest rice at the paddy demonstration field in the Chulachomkla Royal Military Academy. The demonstration plot is under the paddy farming on vacant land project initiated by the princess. The day's harvest was the follow-up of the royal work, as it was the output from rice seeds that Her Royal Highness sowed in July of this year. Instead of using a handheld cutting tool, Her Royal Highness drove a harvesting tractor to finish the job. The demonstration field at the Chulachomkla Royal Military Academy has been created to instill the students about the principle of sufficiency economy and the new theory agriculture, which involves vegetable planting, fish farming, and rice cultivation. Produce from the project is usually sent to nearby schools for use in the cooking for lunch of students. Her Royal Highness also observed the progress of agricultural research projects by related units, such as the raising of frogs and fish in rice fields as a way to increase farmers' income, and the planting of flowers and vegetables in rice fields to create a natural anti-pest system. During the visit, Her Royal Highness Princess Maha Chakri Sirinthorn also witnessed an age-old tradition of worshipping the guardian spirit of rice undertaken by farmers to show their gratitude and ask the spirit for a bumper harvest. And welcome to today's segment of Thailand Moves Forward. Taking a look at today's headlines, Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha expressed satisfaction over his official visit to Laos, as both leaders agreed to greater cooperation, especially in cross-border trade and infrastructure development. According to General Prayut, both countries agreed to increase trade and investment in agricultural commodities. They also agreed to study a possibility of opening a permanent crossing point as well as new special economic zone in Nong Khai province to help absorb the large volume of border trade being handled by the Mukdahan Special Economic Zone. He reaffirmed to Laos that Thailand would provide financial support for the construction of the 5th Thai-Lao Friendship Bridge, Bungan to Bolikamak, and would also cooperate in the construction of the 6th bridge between Sarawak province in Laos and the Thai border province of Ubon Ratchathani. General Prayut said he also discussed with the Lao counterpart the planned construction of the 1.435-meter standard gauge railway from Bangkok to Nong Khai and Laos, with the financial support from the Chinese government. The construction is expected to start next year. General Prayut said he has assigned the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister and the Secretary General to the Prime Minister to follow up on the issues discussed to ensure their progress. The Prime Minister of Thailand has arrived in Vietnam for his official visit aimed at strengthening relations and cooperations between the two countries. The Thai Prime Minister, General Prayut Chan-o-cha, and a group of officials arrived at Noi Bai Airport in Hanoi, Vietnam yesterday for their official visit on the 27th until the 28th of November. The Thai Prime Minister met with President of Vietnam, Truong Tan Sang, the Prime Minister of Vietnam, Nguyen Thanh Dang, and the Chairman of the National Assembly of Vietnam, Nguyen Sen Hung, to discuss enhancements in cooperation in Thailand's relations with the country as a strategic partner for working towards a desirable outcome for both sides. Leaders from both countries talked about boosting trade and investments, especially for agricultural produce, improved transport connections through Laos and Cambodia, and the enhancement of transportation on seaside routes. This visit from the Thai Prime Minister marks his inauguration and will help strengthen relations between both countries in economy, trade, investment, as well as regional and sub-regional frameworks. Thailand and Vietnam have officially upgraded their relations as strategic partners. This makes Vietnam the only country in ASEAN that has become a strategic partner with Thailand. Deputy Prime Minister Jennifer Wongsuwan, who is also the defense minister, has admitted that there are silent groups opposing the coup in Thailand's upcountry regions. However, he remains confident that most Thais support the government. Deputy Prime Minister Prawit commented it was normal for him to learn that some people still bore resentment against the National Council for Peace and Order. Nonetheless, he believes that the situation will still be under control, as the majority of Thai people were aware of the reason why the NCPO had stepped in, while adding that most Thais had long yearned for peace and happiness. General Prawit affirmed that the NCPO and the government would try their best to lead the country under democratic principles and under the framework of the interim constitution. He also called on his political opponents to be patient and wait until the government had completed their duties and finished solving the country's issues during the upcoming year. When asked about academics' requests on ways to reduce the power of martial law, the Deputy Prime Minister said he would be happy to consider suggestions from all sides as long as they would not lead to conflicts. General Prawit reiterated that the country would be administered under the NCPO's roadmap and that a general election would be held in 2016 if the new constitution is completed. The National Legislative Assembly, or NLA, has agreed to accept in principle the bill on the protection of children born through assisted reproductive technologies, hoping it will regulate surrogacy and combat human trafficking in Thailand. The bill protecting children born through assisted reproductive technologies has passed the NLA's consideration in the first reading on a vote of 177 to 2 with 6 abstentions. The bill will now undergo a detailed review and amendment by an 18-member committee prior to the second reading. According to the Minister of Social Development and Human Security, Adun Sangsing Gao, advanced technologies of the present day can very well help couples overcome their infertility. Therefore, the newly approved bill will help ensure that such technologies will not be exploited or used for the wrong purposes. The bill stipulates that any uncertified doctors performing surrogacy operations will be subject to a jail term of up to 1 year and/or a fine of up to 20,000 baht. Anyone involved in commercial surrogacy will face up to 10 years in prison and/or a maximum fine of 200,000 baht, while surrogacy agents will be given a jail term of not more than 5 years and/or a fine of not more than 100,000 baht. During the debate, several NLA members voiced their support for the bill, deeming it effective in deterring commercial surrogacy and plugging the legal loopholes which had often caused surrogate babies to fall prey to human traffickers. Some also pointed out that the bill would provide adequate protection for the children through a series of rules and regulations. The National Legislative Assembly has rejected a request by former Senate President Nikom Wairattapanit for additional witnesses in his impeachment case. The request was rejected by 96 to 82 votes with 14 abstentions. He had earlier requested that 16 NLA members who previously served as senators be barred from the impeachment procedure due to conflicts of interest. However, NLA President Ponpet Awichit Cholachai rejected the request, citing paragraph 2 of Article 5 of the interim constitution, which states that any issues pertaining to the NLA's authority to review matters are to be settled within the NLA itself. Subsequently, the 16 NLA members in question were allowed to participate in the motion that ultimately resulted in the rejection of Mr. Wairattapanit's request for additional witnesses. The NLA will begin reviewing the case file submitted by the National Anti-Corruption Commission on January the 8th. Democrat Party leader Apisit Wechachiwa has given his suggestions to the Constitution Drafting Committee, or CDC, reminding the agency that reconciliation should not mean granting pardon to everyone. Mr. Abhisit arrived at Parliament building for his scheduled discussion with the CDC on the charter drafting process. The Democrat leader reportedly stressed the need for the new constitution to adhere to democratic principles as much as the previous did. It should respect people's rights and allow for the decentralization of power while enabling the public to scrutinize the government. In the House of Representatives, Mr. Abhisit viewed that more power should be given to the opposition so as to strengthen the system of checks and balances. For example, he said the chairman of all House committees should be opposition members. In addition, the House Speaker and Deputy Speakers should come from different parties, depending on the number of votes their respective parties received during the poll. As for senators, he suggests that they all come from election and have more power to stop a bill from being passed into law. Lastly, Mr. Abhisit reiterated that the new charter should not allow those guilty of serious crimes, such as assaults on others and corruption, to start over with a clean slate. Should any pardon be granted, he insisted that the new constitution should be specific about the details. The government has so far adjusted petrol prices 14 times to help commuters with a cumulative reduction of nearly 8 baht per liter since May. Permanent Secretary for Energy Mr. Aripong Puchaum said the price of benzene 95 has been lowered 9 times. In all those times, the price has decreased by as much as 7.79 baht. As for gasohol fuel, the price has declined by 6.8 baht per liter after having undergone price restructuring 14 times. Gasohol 91 has also gone down by 6.4 baht per liter after 13 price adjustments. The decline is said to have been in line with the global oil prices. Meanwhile, the diesel price has decreased by only 0.6 baht over a period of 5 times, as the price has already been subsidized and that the distributors had been exempted from paying the diesel excise tax. At present, however, the government is only collecting 0.75 baht per liter in these taxes. Mr. Aripong further added that it would be a good opportunity now for Thailand to allow gas prices to fluctuate according to the market trend. The Energy Policy and Planning Office will only intervene when the fluctuation becomes too radical. Thai exports have shown a continuous improvement as their value in October of 2014 expanded by nearly 4%, the highest in 21 months. As for the first 10 months of 2014, however, the country still registered a negative growth of 0.36%. Nonetheless, Thailand's exports have begun to show signs of recovery as the export value during the last 2 months of this year has averaged around $19 billion. Should this trend continue, it may be possible for Thailand to eventually see a positive export growth of 0.05 to 0.5% by the end of 2014. Regarding the export growth next year, the ministry expects an expansion of around 4%. Meanwhile, the total imports in October were $20 billion worth. The figure is a decrease of 4.9% compared to the previous month, resulting in a trade surplus of $31 million. However, the 10-month import average still put the country at a deficit of $1.4 billion. Army engineers have started constructing roads in the southern border provinces after the government approved a budget of more than 800 million baht to finance the project. Spokesman of the Internal Security Operation Command Region 4, Colonel Pramod Prom-in, said 37 roads of 164.8 kilometers were being repaired and built by Army engineers from the 1st to 4th Army Area Commands and the Army's Engineer Department. The project was expected to be completed in September of 2015. Asphalt concrete and para-rubber were used for the construction since they were durable and could help promote domestic consumption of the rubber. The project will use a total of 245 to 300 million tons of para-rubber. More visitors are flocking to Chiang Mai's famous Doi Inthanon, while a cold snap in Nan province prompted military aid to the affected locals. A frozen ground phenomenon can be spotted around the vicinity of Doi Inthanon in Chiang Mai as the temperature in the area dropped 2 degrees Celsius. The icy weather is much welcomed by the tourists. Provincial officers expect the number of tourists during the New Year holiday to be in the range of 20,000 to 30,000. Meanwhile, in Buriram province, both local and foreign visitors paid a visit to the inactive volcano Pradong. The provincial tourism office estimates that the venue would welcome no less than 300,000 travelers this year, citing that the majority of the group will be new faces from Eurozone and Asian regions. On the other hand, this year's cold disaster is considered more devastating than the previous year. Officials in Nan province indicated that the harsh condition poses a threat to the less fortunate and low-income earners who are not able to afford winter clothes. And that's the end of today's edition of Thailand Moves Forward. Before we take a quick break, let's take a look at the exchange rates and commodity prices.
To maintain a strong nation, Thailand is promoting 12 core values for the good of the people. The 11th core value: keeping physical and mental strength, unyielding to evil powers or desires, having a sense of shame over guilt and sins in accordance with religious principles.
Detecting plastic dumping and waste burning, toxic waste spill, contamination.
Don't let your waste strike back. Put trash in its place. Think when you throw.
Faithful Buddhists are invited to donate to the building of a huge Buddha statue known as Praputta Metta. It's to be constructed at Tepratown Temple, Soi Dao, Jantaburi. With a 20,000 baht donation, the donor's name will be engraved on the foundations of the statue. Those wishing to contribute may make their donations at the Royal Thai Embassy or at the Consulate General in each country, 7-Eleven convenience stores and stores with counter service signs, Rung Thai Bank, Siam Commercial Bank or Bangkok Bank. Please contact the phone numbers shown for more details.
Taking a look now at the Austin and Beyond segment. A refitted airplane destined to help with evacuation flights in the fight against Ebola went on display in Berlin yesterday. The Airbus A340 plane has been equipped with a special isolation unit in which highly infectious Ebola patients from West Africa can be transported and treated. The aircraft is part of the package of measures being implemented by the German government to help tackle the deadly disease, which has killed more than 5,000 people in 8 affected countries in West Africa this year. The World Health Organization reported on Wednesday that the death toll in the world's worst Ebola epidemic has risen to 5,689 out of 15,935 cases reported in 8 countries by November 23rd. The Portuguese Navy rescued 182 African migrants who were stranded at sea on Wednesday. The Navy was taking part in a rescue mission called Triton, overseen by EU border control agency Frontex, with the aim of rescuing thousands of migrants that try and travel to Europe from Africa every year. The Navy officials said that 182 migrants originating from several African countries were rescued off the coast of Libya and taken to port in the Sicilian town. The first boat was rescued in the early hours of Wednesday morning, 44 miles northwest of the Libyan city of Misrata, with 89 migrants on board, and the second boat was rescued 27 miles northwest of Tripoli with 93 migrants on board. Mexico's embattled President Enrique Peña Nieto said yesterday he would propose constitutional changes to simplify the country's chaotic policing structure following the abduction and apparent massacre of 43 trainee teachers. Peña Nieto has been under growing pressure from protesters to end impunity and brutality by security forces since the 43 students were abducted by corrupt police in the southwestern city of Iguala on the night of September 26. The government reports local police handed over the students to a drug gang, which apparently murdered them and then incinerated their bodies. In a speech to an assembly of political leaders, the embattled president said Mexico needs to change. Peña Nieto vowed to take on responsibility for tackling corruption and impunity in the violence-ravaged country. Amongst the measures to be pushed by the government are provisions to remove power from municipal authorities found to be corrupt. A 12-year-old boy and a 55-year-old woman were killed by shelling in the eastern Ukrainian separatist stronghold of Donetsk yesterday, the state administration reported, despite a September 5th ceasefire deal. According to UN data, an average of 13 soldiers, rebels, and civilians have died every day since a formal ceasefire was agreed by Ukraine, Russia, and the rebels, with Ukrainian government forces and the separatists accusing each other of violating the terms of truce. The Donetsk city administration, which is aligned with Kyiv, said that the child was killed in the street and the woman when a shell hit her flat in an area pummeled by artillery fire in recent days. A witness saw a puddle of blood and a crater at the scene where the 12-year-old was struck down in Kuybishevsky district. Residents said he had been running to a bomb shelter when he was hit. The Kuybishevsky district, located some 7 kilometers away from the city's strategically important international airport, has been suffering from artillery fire for months. And that's it for today's edition of Newsline. For any comments or suggestions, please feel free to email them to us at newsline.nbt@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook. Just simply type in NNT or check out our website at thainews.prd.go.th/newsing. We're going to say goodbye with some footage of blooming buatong flowers in Chiang Mai province. I'm Pra Thirakusan. Have a wonderful day. Swathi ka.